A very good day to everyone present here today. On behalf of Team Auricle, I would like to wish you the best. So today we are starting our live interview session with someone who doesn't need a particular introduction. Now, this is someone who's become very famous because of her popular YouTube videos as well as her online series on FMT, which is Forensic Medicine and Toxicology. So joining me today is Dr. Prashi, who's a Chief FMT Educator and Instructor. A very good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
How are you, ma'am, today?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good, ma'am. So before we start this interview and before I pick your brain, because a lot of my friends, a lot of my juniors would love to get some insight about FMT and your journey about it, I thought we would first start with something I would ask every other doctor out there. Why MBBS? Why FMT? And how and what led you on this journey?
So, coming to why MBBS, your first question. As a kid, no, I get easily bored. I'm some person who wants to do different things, okay? And initially, why not choose engineering? To me, when it came to engineering, my perspective was that these people are going to sit in front of the system, work there non-stop, and I did not want to do that. I wanted to meet new people every day, discuss about their problems or learn something new or do something different every day. So for me, I thought MBBS would suit that, and maybe that is why I chose MBBS. And coming to there are so many. You might say that there's so many other interesting things that I could have done because I chose MBBS because I didn't want to get bored, right? But then there is so much scope in MBBS. There is research. There is so much that a person can do, and I do not regret even a second of choosing MBBS. That's what I want to say about it.
Ma'am, with respect to FMT,
Hmm.
what about FMT really interested you?
Forensic medicine is one subject that any medical student will tend to ignore. And maybe if I say, when I was studying back then, FMT was there in second year and not third year. And even I didn't study it until the last moment. Okay, so when I was studying, that time it was COVID year, so we had a break for almost 1 year, and FMT is one subject that I did not touch. Just before exams, when we had 1 or 2 months, that is when COVID, thing came down, and we had to go to, college and all that. And then while reading, what fascinated me was that when it came to this toxicology part, especially, there's so much. My mom is very fond of gardening. Okay, there's so many plants in my own garden, like datura, for example. I have like two, three colors of it in my home, and I did not know it was poisonous at all until then. So I'm like, oh my gosh, everything in my garden, so many plants are poisonous, and I never knew about it. And any child playing in the garden could just eat something, and anything could happen. That is when it interested me. I'm like, I want to know a little more about this and what might happen. How could people get into poisoning and all that? That is where it all started.
That's great, ma'am. So just like you, when I was doing my MBBS, FMT was a second year subject as well. And now I found out that FMT comes in your third year syllabus.
Yeah.
So I just wanted your input or what you had to say about how the course has changed over the years. Like from when we were doing MBBS, how it was second year and now it's become third year. What are the changes have there been to the syllabus?
When we were studying back then, FMT was in second year. And now because it is shifted to third year, I feel like it is actually better because it is shifted to third year, because in third year, as you know, all the subjects are little light subjects like ENT, OFTAL and all. And FMT is also a little lighter subject. And in second year, we had, path, we had pharma, we had micro, and everything was so huge. And for somebody to add one more subject, it will become a little burdensome for the person. So I think shifting to third year is a little bit easier for the student to study it. And also, now in the exam pattern also, they started including MCQs in the theory exam. I think that is a great shift in changing perspective towards guiding a student in preparing objectively than subjectively. I think that is one of the good changes that has come in the recent years.
Ma'am, so just picking up where you left from. So when we were doing our MBBS, how it was in second year, and we had such huge subjects like pathology, pharmacology, and microbiology to focus on, a lot of my friends as well as me didn't really give a lot of importance to forensic medicine. We mainly thought of it as just another subject where we would just have to, mug up a little bit and just write it for the sake of writing. We can't spend a lot of time learning the subject because you would have to focus on these other subjects. But now that it's a part of third year, you actually have a lot of time to prepare the subject, read it for what it is. And
Yeah.
I feel as medical students, it's important we learn the subject rather than just mugging it up. So for me now, when I found out that it was in the third year, it made me really happy because one thing I couldn't personally do a lot was study forensic medicine for forensic medicine. I had to mainly look at certain questions or just look at certain IPC codes and hope that I end up passing that exam. But when you actually look at the subject, it is very, very important and it is very interesting to study. So, in such a scenario where now it's become a very important subject of the third year syllabus, what are the tips or learning points that you have for students to engage in the subject or for them to actually delve into the important topics of forensic medicine?
I think for anybody, forensic medicine is like this one subject that they have to pass just because to clear that year and go to the next year. A lot of people take it that way only. But I think before they start studying the subject, you need to keep it three things in their mind. One, as I told you, toxicology part. Anything that is around this could be poisonous. So a common sense about what are those poisonous plants or those poisonous insects, or for example, a rat poison, what it could do to the body. Something like this could save a lot of people's lives. This is one thing. And the second thing is that coming to medical negligence, if a doctor doesn't know at where he can be framed for medical negligence, then there's no point of doing entire MBBS and starting his own practice. This is an era where doctors get charged for very simpler things. The patient knows where to frame the doctor rather than doctor knowing where he could be framed. To avoid such a situation, I think having a good grip on the subject really helps. And the third thing is that as an MBBS doctor, once after he is registered, he has his ability to go and give say somebody is dead or not. He can go examine and tell that the person is dead or not. And maybe one find a neighbor might call us and to know that we can tell that a person is dead and all these forensic it helps a lot, and it also teaches us how to write all these certificates. No, for a lot of doctors, writing certificates is like bread and butter sometimes. So I think these are certain areas where a doctor's the doctor can actually improve their skills, and these are things the doctor usually neglects. At least for these things, a person should start studying forensic, and yeah, obviously to pass exams, of course, any day. Yeah, that is what I want to start with. And coming to the subject per se, when we were studying, almost 80% of the questions would come from proper forensic medicine and 20% was from toxicology. This happened for the theory exams. And sometimes, sometimes the toxicology part would have more importance, and then, all those things would happen. And I still remember the year I wrote exam, nearly 40% of the paper was toxicology, and only the remaining part was the actual forensic medicine. So like that. And I think for a person to start studying the subject, you need to always have a framework as to what chapter he'll cover on which day, and make a short note on it, because reading the standard textbook is Narayan Reddy, and it's in black and white, so for a person to read from it would be a very daunting task. So I think if he can make his own notes and revise from it, it will be very easier and simple for the person.
Thank you, ma'am. Speaking about the textbooks for forensic medicine and toxicology, I am someone who uses Narayana Reddy as well. What are the other resources out there for the students, and what do you think would be the gold standard? And do you also think that using any supplementary material or any sort of resources that's there would benefit the student, or just sticking to one particular textbook?
When it comes to standard textbook for forensic medicine, it is Narayan Reddy, as you stated. And in Narayan Reddy also we have the actual book, and then there is one more synopsis which most of us should have read during our MBBS days. Apart from it, there are certain other textbooks, certain textbooks like Agarwal. There is also Biswas. So these are the textbooks. More than textbook, I can call these as the review books. If somebody did not have time, they could just review this and go. There are so many others like Arvind Arora. These are the review books, very small ones. Okay. Now coming to the textbook, also the textbook is in white and black, very few diagrams, and the font is so small, so for somebody to retain things from textbook would become harder. So here's where our platform Auricle comes into picture. Here we provide books in which the syllabus is given in question and answer format, so that a person exactly knows what he need to write for an answer, or how he need to approach a topic, so that it is easier for him to reproduce in the exam. So when it comes to the theory exam, after he understands the concept, the ultimate goal is for him to write that in the exam and get marks more. So we have formulated our notes in such a way that it really helps the student. Apart from that, there are lots of diagrams, and in the textbook of forensic medicine, this is where this is the thing that is missing. There are not many diagrams. So this Auricle notes gives a lot of diagrams to students, so that his visual memory is also enhanced by that. Also, there are certain MCQs so that it gives them an insight as to how to, start with MCQ preparation along with studying for the board exams.
That's really interesting. I really wish I had such resources available to me. It just makes the subject a lot more interesting. And coming back to my point of loving the subject for itself, not just to pass an exam. Ma'am, so now that you've been in this field of teaching students in FMT, what do you think are the common problems encountered by them, or what are the common questions that they have had for you on how to crack the subject?
The question that everybody has, including me when I was, in my second year giving this FMT was, should I really read the subject? I think this is a universal question that's there in every medico's life. And as I told you earlier, the three reasons why the person should know about the subject, no? One about this medical negligence that he could face in the future and all these poisoning cases. So these are certain simple things why he need to get in touch with the subject. Apart from that, the other questions that I get asked are obviously what are the important topics in forensic medicine, or it could be as to will it really help me in the future? This is one of the very common questions, and if I just study with the very important questions, can I pass in forensic medicine rather than reading the actual textbook of Narayan Reddy? So these are some of the very commonly asked questions.
Ma'am, just to make a small side path from this, just a change of discussion. What exactly is this change in the new MBBS curriculum, and what do you know about this next exam?
Traditionally, what we all did is after we finished our MBBS, we did 1 year of internship and then we gave NEET. And then if we couldn't clear with the marks that we desired, we wrote it multiple number of times. This is what we all did. But now, because our education system in India want to change it to a level of where it was there in US or UK, where the standard of exam is increased. So they have thought of implementing this next exam. So it was supposed to be implemented last year, I think. They're just dragging it for some years, but ultimately it will get implemented in the coming future. So when there is next exam, here a more clinical approach is given to the exam, where final year subject and third year subjects will be the ultimate thing to focus on, and all the first year and second year topics will be the allied subjects that can come with the paper. Like for example, if you, this exam will happen in 5 days, where second and fourth day are the rest days for the student to prepare for the next day. Like on first day they have medicine and pediatrics, and it is not only medicine, it is always medicine and allied subjects. So all the first year and second year things could be included there. And coming to surgery also, it is surgery and allied. So anything apart, like for example, after a surgical question is given, if they have to go for a histopath, if they have to integrate pathology, they can integrate it there. It is going to be that way. And on the last day, we have obs and gynecology, and there is ophthalmology given. But because there are breaks in between, it will be easier for a person to revise in the last moment. But here also, if the person doesn't have thorough knowledge about the subject, it is really going to be difficult because this exam is going to test the competence of a student as to if his base is strong. So Oracle as a platform, its aim is to make the student's base stronger. So here, what they do is they teach everything from the scratch so that the person's base is strong, and later when he has to attend an MCQ exam, he knows where exactly to focus, where to build on. So building that castle will be easier if this foundation is made stronger.
So using Oracle, you said you have a wide array of videos, you have textbooks with pictures to help us understand all these topics.
Yeah.
This would definitely have helped me and my friends. But one thing is, you have students from different grasping powers. Some people who will be learning things at a particular pace, others might not be as fast as them. So they would have to do it by themselves. So when you are all in a group and some friends are able to study a lot more, or they're able to answer a lot of more questions, there are these other students who are trying their best, but because their grasping power isn't as much, they feel that they're at a lesser level, or they're in a competition, they may be at a little slower pace. So in Oracle, what are the other things that are available to individualize their training plan or their learning plan?
I'll ask you a question, okay, before I answer this. Do you remember any day that you stood up in your class and asked a doubt during your theory hour to one of your questions? Let's leave FMT to any other teacher teaching any subject. Have you ever stood up and asked a doubt like, "Ma'am, I have a doubt in this topic. Have you done this?"
No, ma'am. The only time I raised my hand was to say my attendance.
Yeah. So see, a lot of students once they join a degree course, not only any degree course, they have this constant fear of getting scrutinized by others. If I stand up and ask a question, what if my friends laugh at me, or what if somebody thinks that I don't understand very simple things? All this is there in every person's mind. So normally, what happens in theory class, a person may not really ask us doubt. Or second chance, the person may not be listening to the entire theory class. So, and third thing, a lot of students in MBBS tend to study by themselves. They have their own pace. They want to start from somewhere. They have their own time frame when they have to start studying. They really don't follow the actual classes that is happening in their college. So, in such a place, an app like Auricle comes to play. So we have all the pre-recorded videos. So pre-recorded videos is going to help somebody who wants to study anytime, anywhere, and if they have doubts, they can go back, rewatch the videos again. So pre-recorded videos are like this. Now coming to the live classes is designed in such a format that if, for example, if I have taken Oracle and I do not want to study today, but I know that there is a live class that is scheduled from 5 to 6 p.m. And just because I know so many people will be joining to that live class, I have that fear of, missing out on things, or I'm at least like, okay, so many people are studying. I don't want to be not studying and not pass my exam. No. So in such a place, people, tend to join live classes. And live class is a class where so many students come there only to learn. So if they have any doubt, they can, ask the educator about the doubt and get it cleared there itself. And one more thing about live class is that all the important topics are discussed here. And important topics in the sense, these are the most anticipated topics for the coming exams, and all the previous 10-year questions are going to be covered. So this gives you a platform where you can revise all the important things very easily, get your doubts clear. And there is also MCQ sessions also in the app. So there are three levels: the basic to the expert level. So if there is a student who knows all the basic things thoroughly, and if he wants to go to the next level of preparing for MCQ exams, he can go there and he can start preparing for the MCQ questions. So this way, this app caters to everybody's needs.
That's really nice. I think I haven't heard of another app doing something like this where individuals, based on their grasping power, can actually move forward and take it forward by themselves, which is actually great that Oracle is providing such a platform catering to everyone.
Yeah.
Now, I was going through social media and I came across something called a 90-day series from Oracle. What can you tell us about that, ma'am?
90-day series is launched in such a way that the time frame exactly matches with that of your upcoming exams. So if a student has an exam after, like, it will usually be there in that Jan, Feb, March, that time. No? So if they start with a 90-day series, it is going to complete all the syllabus just before they go and give their exam. So that this is a platform where they can revise very easily, that too only the important things, so that going and giving exams will be very easy for them. Also, in these live classes, one more thing that is focused on is there are a lot of students who study, they actually know the concept, but they cannot put it properly in the paper. Maybe they do not know how to put it properly in the paper, or they just, that is their way of putting into paper, maybe something. But, in the theory exam, knowledge is very important, but if you don't put it properly in the paper in a way that the examiner gets happy by looking at the paper, there is no point. You won't get, pass your exam. So this platform will actually help you, put everything that you know properly in a paper. It will tell you where exactly you need to add a flow chart or a diagram, or how you need to frame your answer so that it looks good, presentable, and also has all the important things in the paper. That way, this 90-day series is going to help all the students.
Oh, that's great. So it's mainly helping us to prepare for an exam, how
Yeah.
to crack the exam and end up scoring well.
Yeah.
This is another point which I feel if my friends are watching, they would feel they had this opportunity. Because I know a lot of people who had the knowledge, but when they had to put pen to paper, they just couldn't do it at that point. They couldn't end up scoring a great score. And they would feel really bad about it when other people would just end up passing the exam. But with respect to knowledge, these people had more. So being able to have that bridge between gaining knowledge and putting it all into paper, we need a lot of support there. And if this 90-day series is going to help, then there's nothing like it. Ma'am, coming
Yes,
to
definitely.
mock papers and mock questions, what do you have to say about them?
I think for a student to take more, ultimate goal should be for you to manage time in the exam. So, when it's a 3 hour theory exam, person, even though he knows everything,
That's really great,
what happens
ma'am.
is that
A lot of people have this problem of knowing all the answers, but just not being able to put pen to paper. So that's the part that they need to really focus on. A lot of people that I know are very studious, they're very smart with their knowledge, But when it comes to the exam, they're just not able to replicate that into paper. And if there's going to be an entire series where you're able to establish a bridge between that knowledge and transferring that knowledge onto paper, then I think that is a fabulous opportunity for everyone to prove their worth.
Yeah.
I have one more question for you, ma'am. What do you think about mock papers and solving those kind of
I
questions?
think taking a few marks before exam would really help a student. It is because generally what happens is that when a person gets a question paper, he starts answering 10 markers usually, in the beginning. And what happens, they know so much about the topic, they keep writing, and then at the end for a 5 marker or 3 marker, they do not have a lot of time. And this 5 marker, 3 markers are those questions which actually gives the person actual marks. Like if a 3 marker is proper and up to point, they usually tend to get 3 on 3. But 10 marker isn't like that. Even if they have spent so much time and written everything in detail, they're going to get it marks like 7 or 8. So I feel like balancing time is very important while writing an answer. I think for a person when he takes a mock exam, he knows if he's lagging behind in time and or where he needs to pick up or how he need to frame his time and divide it to all these long answers and short answers so that he can do well. I think a proper mindset would be for a person to give just 15 minutes for a 10 marker. He need to go to his exam fixed like that. So, in a 3 hours exam, if he gives 15 mark for a 10 marker, they usually two 10 markers. So he's going to give half an hour for 10 marker. And then no matter what, if even though he has not finished a part, he has to just start the 5 marker. So that what happens in the end, no, they'll have another 15 to 20 minutes time that is remaining if he uses this time format, and in that time he can come back and again, answer whatever is left. For example, if a 10 marker is given, they're going to give 3 4 sub questions under it. Now, while answering, imagine the 30-minute mark is reached, and the person has to shift to a 5 marker. Then what happens in a 10 marker? Maybe he has not answered a sub part of the question, so he can leave space for that, and at the end he can come back and answer that. Imagine he doesn't have time at the end. Not to worry because he's already answered like 80% of the question, so he'll be getting that around 7 to 8 marks. Even after he answers everything, the marks that he could get is maybe half an hour more for the question. So I think this aspect of giving proper time to each question comes when he only solves 2 or 3 mock papers, so he exactly knows what he has to do.
Thank you for that tactical analysis, ma'am. For all of the people watching this video, for all of my friends, I feel time management is extremely important. And if you've heard this, I would urge you to please rewind and listen to that again, because managing your exam, the questions, the way you write is so important to finally getting the marks that you deserve. Ma'am, I feel I've going on and on about this, but before I let you go, I just wanted to ask you a couple of frequently asked questions.
Okay,
First
yeah.
is previous year questions and these kind of question banks. Now, even when I was studying, PYQs used to be a very, very big concept for us. And if no one was prepared for their exams, we would ask them to look at these questions at least 2 days before exam in the hope to pass. How important do you think are previous year questions, and how does that translate us to doing well in our exams?
I feel like PYQs are very, very, very important. Very stressed so many times here because they are very important. See, I'll give you my own example. When I was preparing for forensic medicine, so we had, a day gap before forensic exam. And in that one day, I started with toxicology. I just thought that, after, I think it was in second year, no? So patho, pharma, after all those back-to-back exams, I thought I'll start with the lighter part first. So, when a person starts studying for the initial topic that he studies, he usually gives a lot of time. So I took like half a day to finish only toxicology. Only then did I get to know that only 20% of the question comes from toxicology and 80% from the other forensic medicine. So I had half day to prepare the entire 80% of syllabus. Then initially maybe two, three chapters, I just started, reading whatever I'd highlighted. After that, I realized if I did that, I would probably, flunk in my exam. So I started reading all the previous year questions. I did that for some chapters, and after that there were like 10 chapters remaining, and I had like 2 to 3 hours. That's all. So then I started revising only those previous year questions which were asked multiple amount of times. That way, it really helped me prepare for the exam. And so many questions that actually came in the exam were those questions which had got repeated so many times. So I knew what exactly I had to write. And maybe so many other students who studied everything just one day before exam maybe did not write every point to the question that accurately like how I wrote because I knew for that question what I had to write. So that way, studying for PYQ just 1 or 2 days before exam will give that extra edge to the student. Even though he knows everything about the subject, I think studying the important questions just before exam will actually give that extra edge to the person.
Thank you, ma'am. And also, this is a question which a lot of my non-medico friends also had. What does a forensic medicine doctor do?
So coming to once after a person coming to a scenario in India, after a person has done forensic medicine, they have one thing, they can obviously go to the teaching field. They can go to a medical college and then they can start teaching. Otherwise, they can go to certain. There are certain forensic agencies. There is a famous doctor. I don't recall his name right now, but what he did was he finished his forensic medicine MD, and then he did law LLB for another 3 years. And now in India, he's one of the most sought after lawyer for all these medical legal cases. And per case, he charges like 10 to 15 lakhs. So that much is the scope. Like, not only forensic, any subject has scope. That is another thing that I want to touch upon here. A lot of people, they degrade certain subjects. It's just like, maybe you could do so much better by choosing this subject and all that. But I think the ultimate, thing that a person should realize after he takes up MBBS is that any field has scope. He just needs to go there, dig into it, and then hustle a little bit to know more about it. Apart from this, he can go to all the court procedures as a doctor called upon by the government side and give his knowledge regarding any case. Without a forensic medicine person's accurate knowledge, lot of cases would prolong for so many years to come. And if we go to some other countries, these forensic medicine experts have much bigger role to play. Actually, when they go to the investigation, the crime scene, they are the ones who are leading the case. That isn't that accurate to a country like India. But having said that, the role is not very limited also. Without their intervention, a proper judgment cannot be given in a lot of legal procedures and theories.
So actually, the role of a forensic medicine doctor is so powerful in the country. And as you
Yeah,
said, the scope is a lot, and there's a lot to be excited for in this field.
yeah, definitely.
That's great, ma'am. Thank you so much for your time. Before we wind up, do you have any messages that you would like to give for all our friends watching this video?
Yeah. Definitely, one important message would be that always focus on building your basics strongly. Once you are very thorough with your basics, the rest it is very easier to build on the rest. Even if you know very hi-fi things and then do not know the basic things, it is really not going to help you on the long run. um, there was a time when I was giving my surgery viva, and the doctor asked me a question about what are the common causes of chest pain. And I could have told 100 things, but apart from all those, I told Mondor's disease. So this Mondor's disease, and the doctor was like, "Have you seen a case of Mondor's disease?" It is very rare. So the take-home point is that if you try and go and search all the rare things and remember those rare things, you will become very rarest among all your friends who are practicing medicine. So focus more on building your concepts first, building your base first, and a platform like Auricle will definitely help you in doing that. And apart from that, do not ignore any subject. Any subject, how small or how big, may help you in great terms in your future. Maybe you neglect a subject completely, and a lot of questions can come from that, maybe in your theory or in your entrance exam, and maybe then you might regret. So give equal importance to every subject. Maybe you can focus on different topics in each subject with different depth. Like if a topic is very important, you can give little more time to it, but do not ignore any subject. And always enjoy your medical days. Take as many trips as possible, attend any number of concerts that you want, have fun, because this time isn't going to come again. Yeah, that's
Thank you, ma'am. That's true. Your MBBS journey is the only time when you are actually going to be exposed to so many things, because after that, your real adult life starts and you might regret not having done more things
that's
in
going to hit,
MBBS.
that's going to hit very hard sometimes.
I agree,
So
ma'am.
much rat race, hustle, and everything. So these 6 years are the time when you need to actually enjoy a lot. You're going to carry the memories, throughout.
Adding to what you said about the basics being strong, there's a very common proverb saying that if the bricks are not laid properly, the building is going to collapse, right? And as someone who's written the NEET PG exam, I can tell that the questions that they ask, without us knowing our basics in MBBS, there is no point of trying to even attempt to study those topics or those questions, because it will not make sense. You'll end up panicking, you'll end up being stressed out, which is why a platform like Auricle is not just to prepare for MBBS, it's also to prepare us for the rest of our journey in the future. Because without knowing the anatomy, without knowing the physiology, you cannot progress to second year. Without knowing second year, you can't progress to third year, and so on and so forth. So when there's an opportunity or where there's a learning experience where you can get your basics sorted very solid, then I feel going into our PG preparation, be it PLAB, MLE, NEET PG, we will have an advantage over the others because our basis is so strong. And just conversing with you about FMT and about what Auricle provides in general, I feel everyone should have access to such an opportunity. So thank you so much for your time, ma'am. I hope all of the listeners have gained some because I've learned a lot more. And I really hope to conversing with you in the future as well. So I think we can wind up here. Thank you to all the listeners. Please do check out Auricle. There are a lot of offers. And as ma'am said, the 90-day series, there are a lot of opportunities available for everyone. So we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you. Take care and have a great day.
Much. It was really nice having the session with you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am.